Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is my review of my small book tote from Dior. In the past month or so, I have been using this bag a lot, so I have a very good sense of what I think about this bag, and I figured I would share with you guys in case you're thinking of purchasing this bag for yourself. And if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, hi, my name is Carol and my channel is all about fashion, luxury, and style tips for the working woman. So if you like this video and you like general videos on handbag reviews or unboxing videos, then definitely take a look at my channel, watch a few more of my other videos, and subscribe, as well as hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on my future videos. So let's get into the review of this book tote. So I have the small book tote in the blue Toile de Nuit pattern, and I had purchased this for $2,750 US a few months back. Currently, this exact one is no longer available, but the oblique pattern one is now $2,750 US. So the same price that I got this at, but this is after the price increase. And they're currently also selling the leather version of these small book totes for $2,800 US. Even though this specific one is no longer available if you look on Dior's website, I still have the link for this item, and when I checked out the link, it said that the price of this is $3,000, which is insane to me that this costs more than the leather version. So I'm not sure if that means all of their seasonal patterns are going to cost a few $100s more than the oblique pattern, but if you're thinking about getting one of their seasonal ones, then this is definitely something to keep in mind. Now, this Dior book tote is completely made out of canvas, and it has a bunch of animals that are embroidered on it. And the animals, as well as other details on the bag, are kind of raised from the fabric itself. So I quite like that it makes it look not quite as flat. So on the front, you do also have this Christian Dior logo written on it. The back is completely blank over here, but you can potentially get something embroidered on here. So if you wanted your initials or your name, for example, you could potentially get that done at select stores. And the bag does come with these two rather short handles that are a good size for you to wear either handheld or on the crook of your arm like this. But I would say that even though you can technically wear this over your shoulder, I'm not a big fan of doing that because it does sit right underneath your arm, and for one, it's not comfortable, and secondly, who wants to get sweat stains on a canvas bag? So the inside of this bag is not lined, it's just completely open like this. There are no interior pockets or anything. The only thing that is inside is you get this tag that is made out of leather, I believe, and it says Christian Dior Paris, and this bag is made in Italy. And when I first got this bag, it did come folded up like so, and this is actually how I store the bag too. So at the bottom, it is curved inwards a little bit, and when you open the bag up, it does also curve a little bit on the bottom, so as you can see here. But as you put your items in here, it will flatten out, but I'll talk about this a little bit more in the pros and cons section. But if you put a little bit too much in the bag, it is a potential issue for the bag to sag a little bit outwards. As for the pros of this bag, even though the specific one that I own in the Toile de Nuit pattern, I would definitely say is more on the trendy side. I think that the Dior book tote as a whole does have the potential to be more of a timeless and classic bag if you get it in one of the leather versions. But I just really love all the really intricate patterns that Dior comes out with. I love that they're so unique without being over the top. And one of the issues that I have with using bigger bags is the bag itself would be so heavy, and since it is a big bag, once you load it completely full, the bag is just way too heavy to use on a daily basis. But I love that this bag is so light because it is made out of canvas. So when I put a bunch of stuff in here, it's still really easy to carry. And usually when I do these bag review videos, I will get tired of holding the bag up after a while, but this is actually perfectly comfortable to hold up like this. And the last pro is, while most canvas bags aren't that structured, especially when you compare them to leather bags, I actually like that this bag is quite structured, of course, for a canvas piece. So I like that when I set this bag down, it doesn't just collapse into a kind of shapeless heap. But on the flip side, there are quite a few cons to this bag that I want to mention, and definitely keep these in mind if you're thinking about purchasing this bag for yourself. So I think the biggest con is definitely that this bag is just one of those bags that you really need to have an organizer for or have a bunch of SLGs for you to be able to use this bag functionally, in my opinion, because like I mentioned earlier, the inside is just one big hole. There's not even a single slip pocket or a zippered pocket or anything. So everything is out in the open and things just kind of slide around in there, especially if you don't really distribute the weight properly inside, because otherwise it just leans to one side. And especially when you have this on the crook of your arm or hand carrying it even, it's just not that comfortable to have it lean in one direction, and then everything will just start to creep onto that side of the bag if you do that. Plus, if you're thinking about getting the Mitsa scarves to wrap around the handles and protect it a little bit more, it's kind of hard to find a scarf that would match with this bag. So of course they do make the scarves that are in the same patterns as this bag. So for example, they have the Toile de Jouy Mitsa scarves, or they have the oblique pattern ones. But in my opinion, those scarves look a little bit strange on these bags because the colors of the scarves are just noticeably different from the colors on the bag itself. So it's a little strange because it looks like you're trying to match the bag, but it doesn't really match. So that kind of in between is very weird in my opinion. And because these bags are so heavily patterned, if you get a scarf that is in a totally contrasting pattern, that also looks really weird. Plus, I have mentioned in one of my previous videos on luxury shopping tips, if you have to get some type of accessory to make a bag work for you, then you probably should not be getting the bag. And the last con, which is a pretty big one in my opinion, is even though this is a tote bag, and a lot of the times I do use tote bags mostly for work, this tote bag, I would say, is too casual to use in a work environment. So while this bag does work very nicely with my summer outfits, it is a little bit limiting because I'm not sure how much I would wear this when it gets colder. Plus, I wouldn't wear this for work, so there's only so many days and so many times that I could actually wear this. So now I want to talk about the wear and tear of this bag, and do keep in mind that, like I said, I've only been using this for about a month, so I think I would probably have to use this for at least a year to really comment on that, but from what I noticed, it has worn well. The only things I want to say is, for one, there are some loose threads here and there that I notice, and what I usually do is I'll just snip them off, and I don't really think it is part of a larger issue, so I'll just snip them off and it's fine. And I only really snip off the ones that are really loose and really long and sticking out from the bag. So if it's just a tiny little bit loose, I wouldn't touch it unless it gets worse, but there hasn't been too much of that. I think there's a loose thread over here, but I don't even think I'm going to snip that off just yet. So it's not too big of an issue. The biggest issue, like I mentioned briefly before, is the bag will sag a little bit if you overload your items in here, especially at the center of the bag. So for example, if I were to put my laptop straight down the center of the bag, then it will start sagging at the bottom here, but something like that is definitely avoidable. So what I usually would do is I would put my laptop right against either the front or the back of the bag, and that's perfectly fine. And another way you can avoid the sagging is by distributing your items evenly in there. Or of course, you can always get a bag organizer, even though I personally don't really use bag organizers in my bag. And going back to why some people like to wrap a Mitsa scarf or something along those lines around the handles is because This bag, since it is canvas and it is a lighter color background, it can get dirty as you're using it, especially if you're placing your bag on the floor, for example. But the good thing about this bag is it's not a stark white color. So this white color that you see here is actually kind of an ivory off-white color, so it hides dirt a little bit better. And of course there is a pattern all over it, so even if it got dirty, I don't think it would be super visible. And I also wanted to quickly show you guys what fits in this bag. So the biggest thing that I put in here is definitely my laptop. So I have two different laptops to show you guys. Both of them are 13-inch MacBooks, but one of them is slightly wider and it's a bit of a tighter fit in here, but it still does fit. So here I have my 13-inch MacBook Air, which is a little bit older, so it's a tiny bit wider. So if I put this in here, it's pretty tight of a fit, but it does end up fitting in there and it doesn't actually stretch out the bag or anything. So that's what it looks like in there. So it's perfectly fine. And then if I compare this to my newer MacBook Pro, which is not quite as wide, even though it is still the 13 inches. So that's about the difference in width between the two. So probably around 3/4 of an inch maybe. So of course, since that one fit, this one will also fit too. And this is actually much easier to slide in there. As you can see just now, there wasn't really much of an issue. And that's what this one looks like in there. So aside from putting a laptop in there, anything else that you would want to fit in a tote bag probably would fit in there with room to spare. So I also would put my full-size wallet in here, the usual cosmetic pouch that I carry. I have the pouch that comes with my Louis Vuitton Neverfull MM that I put my phone and my keys into, and then I put the pouch in here just so my phone and my keys are kind of separated from everything else in the bag. And then I can put my sunglasses in here, as well as hand sanitizer, of course, and a pack of tissues. And sometimes I would even have a cardigan or something that I would just put on top of the bag, because whenever I'm indoors, it gets really cold for me with all of the AC that's blasting. So if I have a big bag like this with me, I just like to have something to drape over my shoulders. And I guess lastly, I want to show you guys what I mean by the sagging if I were to put the laptop down the center of the bag. So if I had the laptop down the center, it's a little hard to hold it in place like this, because if I were to demonstrate that, I'd probably want to have things holding it up on either side. But if I just kind of have this in the center like this, I'm not sure if you can kind of tell that it's starting to cave outwards a little bit. So maybe you can see from there, but if you can't see, just take my word for it that it does end up caving out a little bit more. But as I was showing you how I usually place the laptop in there, which is just against either the front or the back of the bag, if you look at the bottom, it's perfectly fine. It still just folds inwards like the bag usually is. So honestly, as I'm talking through the pros and cons of this bag, it does seem like I have a lot of negative things to say about it, and that there are a lot of so-called issues with this bag. But I just wanted to mention at the end of this video that I do actually really love this bag, even with all of the nitpicky things that I've mentioned about it. Because if I'm making a review for you guys from a more objective point of view, then I definitely have to mention all the little things that could potentially bother you guys. So it's up to you guys if you think that this bag is worth it, both with all of the cons as well as the price tag of this bag. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this was an informative video for you guys. And if you're thinking about getting this bag, hopefully this video helped you guys make a decision one way or another. And of course, if you have any other questions for me regarding this book tote from Dior, leave them in the comments down below and I'll definitely respond to them. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll leave 2 videos up on the screen for you to watch next, so I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.